let me introduce our next author. Selah Janel has been blessed with an active imagination and a love of story since she was little and was convinced fairies lived in nearby forests and vampires lurked in the abandoned barns outside of towns. It only got weirder from there. Her current standalone titles include Visiting Hours Reflections from the Shadow Realm, Holly and Ivy, The Ruins of St. Louis, Candles, and The Inheritance. She's had stories published in various magazines, including The Dread Machine, Electric Spec, 34 Orchard, Underland Arcana, and Parabnormal, and anthologies including The Old Ways Volume 2 by Erie River Press. So I will be putting links for you in the comment box of where you can continue to follow her after this event is over. And Selah, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Elaine. Happy to be a part of this. I will clarify, it's hard for everyone. It's Selah Janel. Just think of Come Sail Away with Me from the Styx song. That's how I usually say it. So a little context about this story. I'm going to drop you a little bit further into the beginning, so we'll need some exposition. Picture the most perfect, picturesque kingdom, fantasy farmland in a fantasy realm you could ever think of. It's all dead. It's been cursed. Everything's barren. Crops are dead. People have moved out. Farms are gone. Near this, there is a dark, dark woods. Maybe the death comes from the woods. Maybe it doesn't. In the middle of all this is the city kingdom of Erie. It is proud, big towers, lots of businesses, a strong wall around it. But now also around it are these massive brambly vines with thorns, making it a cage or a nest, if you will. So our main character, Avis, is from Erie. She left 10 years ago for her own reasons, and now she has returned on a summons to free Erie from this curse, whether she wants to or not. And right where I'm picking up, her coven sister, because when she left, she went to learn magic. So she's been part of this coven for the past 10 years. Her younger coven sister, Fawn, has suddenly shown up. She was not expecting this. So we shall see what happens. Brief content warnings for very brief animal deaths near the end. Some implication of power imbalances that unfortunately are still relevant today. So the word home conjured emptiness. The thought of the coven twisted painfully in my chest. They'd taken me in, given me everything. Even though this was a permitted quest, I couldn't return, even if Corvin let me. I gave Fawn a long look. How did you even find me? She shrugged. The birdsong said you needed aid. Birdsong? It had taken years for me to not tense at every trill and whistle that came from the trees. I couldn't catch all of it, but it spoke of danger. I'm relieved to find you in one piece. The morning breeze made the hem of her dress and her curls dance in the sunlight. I felt absolutely filthy in comparison, though that wasn't new. Fawn wasn't ready for so difficult a task, though there were ways she could still be useful. Nature magic wasn't my forte, guarded as I was. Fawn wielded it as easy as breathing and displayed her feelings for the world to see. I'd often been told that emotions were a valuable conduit for magic, but distancing myself was what I knew. It was probably the only reason Coven Mother allowed me this quest. I'm hard to keep down. I adjusted the curve of a rune in the dust. She observed my work with scrutiny, nodding at the barrier I laid out. Hopefully you'll rub off on me. You don't want to be like me. To survive because you're out of choices. I nodded to the looming monstrosity. This place taught me to be that way. Fawn's head tilted like the gentle animals she protected. My people have no name, I continued. We have no known homeland, but there's a long history of finding a place we like, ingratiating ourselves to it, and taking it over. We're survivors. Every city or town we nest in is Erie. This has been Erie for many generations. Our symbol has long been the starling, for we too learned to get what we want from being invasive. The younger witch's gaze was considering. She was unfamiliar with the runes, but wouldn't admit it. What happened to this place? Maybe Corvin finally pissed off the wrong traveler. Maybe taxes on the land became too high and someone took action. People tend not to like it when their land is taken over and they're subjugated to serfdom. Corvin? City leader, though he practically crowned himself king. Word was sent, and I have reason to give aid. Give was a charitable word. That blasted summons had dragged me back to a life I'd worked hard to forget. Fawn frowned. You swore yourself entirely to the coven, as do we all. I thought you'd separated from your old life. Mention of the coven almost made me pause. Sometimes one doesn't get a choice. Corvin's message had been very clear. I'd burned the summons, but the words were etched in my mind. You will never escape my eyes, no matter how far you fly, little bird. However, beloved Aerie has befallen on hard times. Free the city, and I will release you from your obligation. Fail or flee, and the nest you found for yourself will burn, and I will add your flock to my aviary. You will serve your city by serving me in my bed. I'd hoped he'd given up on me. Hoped news I had power deterred him. He'd found me somehow, and the skill that had been a blessing was now a damning lure. It was one thing to drag me back, but threats to the coven made my blood burn. Fawn extended a hand, incantation on her lips. Don't, I warned. This can't be undone with a release spell. There are souls trapped there, she protested, and something animal but not, a fairy story gone wrong. Her insight was strange, but I had other things to focus on. I opened the cage on my hip, pulled out the bird within. The starling and I glared at each other with mutual disdain. The starling isn't just a symbol. Aerie is lax about laying them roost wherever, one of the many things I'm glad to be rid of. Fawn's affront was clear. How can you hate a little bird? Memories whispered in harsh voices in the flutter of wings. They're obnoxious, inescapable. They devour food sources, and they're so loud. The fact I'd been able to meet this one had been a blessing. Its beady eyes glared at me amongst dark feathers. I caught it the day after I received Corvin's summons. The birds I'd grown up with weren't particularly trainable, but I wouldn't have doubted if somehow they'd been made spies. I'd seen stranger in my ears. The first flick of the knife in the air released the silencing spell. The narrow beak opened to release huffy chirps and warbles. The spide feathers at its throat puffed in and out. The call was echoed on the other side of the mass in a chaotic litany. Hundreds of trapped starlings sang the familiar birdsong of my childhood. I could have gone another 10 years without it. It's so loud, Fawn yelled, hands over her ears as the warbles raised to shrieks. There must be 100 at least, if not more. How this all had happened was a mystery. The fact that Corvin had even gotten word out was astounding. Corvin, be you in there? I demanded, though I didn't want to know. Well, I wasn't the most proficient at wordless magic, enhancing my volume was easy enough. The words rippled over the din. The starling in my fist dipped down to a different sound, from a different memory. A hungry, yearning moan. Stop. Revulsion bloomed in my stomach. To my horror and shame, it was echoed by its brethren, until the air was filled with awful, lusty grunts, accented by the flutter of wings, and sent me back in time to dark trees and a strange nest within them. Stop! Stop! The second flick of the knife slashed across the bird's throat. The corpse fell from my hand, and with a few commands, the blood trickled into the rivulets I'd drawn, slowly spanning outward. Good riddance. I didn't bother to gauge Fawn's expression. I knew her well enough. You can be disappointed all you like. I don't have your easy connection with the world. Sometimes blood is needed, innocent blood preferred. The brunette stared in disapproval, but finally nodded. If you say so, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I'd missed her warmth. Fawn was generous and forgiving when she didn't have to be. I suppose we should get to it. I doubt that small offering is enough if it's as you say. I nodded, nervously twisting the fabric of my tunic in my hand. You're right. Fawn frowned, frustrated and perplexed. She was well-meaning, naive, and innocent. A terrible combination given the situation. Everything else is dead from the curse. What would you have me do, Avis? Stand still. And we'll just leave it there.